Welcome to Geek Squad Academy's class on digital music featuring GarageBand on the Apple iPad. My name is William and I'm going to take you through the major components of teaching students how to use GarageBand. Before we begin, a few things to keep in mind. This class should run for about an hour, and the class is meant as an introduction to GarageBand that covers the basics and explains exploration and discovery. At the end of this experience, students will not be able to save their song, but the real benefit is the learning they receive. As you're teaching the class, make sure to encourage every student to participate. The easiest way to do this is to make the class highly interactive and not just a feature tour. Make sure you're asking questions, calling on students, getting responses. Get their parents involved if they happen to be attending the event. We're going to begin with an icebreaker that you can use. After all the participating students are seated with an iPad in front of them and with their headphones off of their heads, consider going around the group and asking them what they like about their favorite song or their favorite artist. What do they think makes music great? You might also ask students if they play a musical instrument. This can really be useful in the next couple of steps as we're going through the instruments. One thing to keep in mind is that you will not be able to hear the song as I'm going through it, but you should have a chance to play with GarageBand before you teach this class. So if you want to follow along using an iPad, pause this video and take that opportunity. What we're going to start with is by creating a new song with the plus button in the upper left-hand corner. Here we're greeted by the smart instruments, which is everything that we're actually going to use today and that you will use when you teach students. There are other components and parts to GarageBand, but the smart instruments, featuring that little gear shape and the word smart in front of them, are the ones that you'll want to use. We're going to start with Smart Guitar. And I'm going to take you through a little bit of a feature view of how this works. In this view, you have the ability to strum any of the strings, and you can see them vibrating on the screen there. You can also tap the notes at the top to play a chord. If you want to show your students the difference between chords and notes, you can choose in the upper right-hand corner the symbol that looks a little bit like a dial to switch between chords and notes. There's also an autoplay feature, which is really neat to get to show students how they can automatically record a sampling of interesting work on a guitar. Tap that same symbol when you're done to go back to your notes. If you want to switch the type of instrument that you're playing within the smart guitar, you can use the button in the upper left, and on iPads and versions this may vary, but you can choose instead of an acoustic guitar to use something like a hard rock or roots rock guitar, and with those come new features. In that same upper right-hand corner where we chose chords and notes before, you can see that we've got the vintage drive and the robo flanger that we could turn on or off that would alter the quality of the song that we produce. This is a good opportunity for students to have a chance to play through the guitar, and you can give them a chance to go through all of the features of this, maybe taking between 3 and 5 minutes for this instrument. They don't have to worry about recording right now. This is actually just an opportunity to play. And throughout the period, students will want to share their song. It may not be a bad idea to have a set of speakers set up so that you can have students towards the end of the session plug their iPad into a set of speakers and play their song for the entire class. You'll use headphones if you have them during the actual instruction, and it's smart to tell students to have their headphones off of one ear and on the other so that they can both hear their instrument and still hear what you're trying to teach them. We'll move on to our next instrument now. The smart keyboard is a great way for kids to have an opportunity to play individual chords if they like. They can again choose autoplay at the top, and this gives them the ability to change not just the notes that they play, and you can see the way that that's being indicated on your screen, but they could also choose a variety of different types of pianos, even some that are barely pianos at all, like the Solar Sailor, which is a lot of fun. Give kids an opportunity to play through here as well. Try to make sure that everybody is mostly staying on the same page. It's important that we have an opportunity for every student to experience all of the instruments. So try to stay and keep one of your helpers involved to keep everybody on the same instrument at the same time. On our smart bass, we're going to have the opportunity to play very similar note structures to what we did with the guitar. And you do still have an autoplay function here as well. If you want to have an opportunity for students to switch between different types of bass, there are very many styles that are here as well. And with what you showed them previously on the guitar and the piano, this will give them an opportunity to feel a little bit more at home, automatically choosing some of the other options. This may not be a bad opportunity to tell students that whatever they like about the instruments that they're hearing, they should keep this in mind for the song that they will have an opportunity to record at the end of the session. Our next instrument in line is the Smart Strings. This one's really neat in that the amount of pressure or the frequency with which you drag your finger across the screen increases or decreases the amount of sound that's made. This will give kids an opportunity to really make the sounds that they want to hear. You can also choose, unique to this instrument, the number of instruments that are involved in each one of the tracks that you would record from this instrument. So if you want to record something that just has cellos, you could unselect everything else and then have an opportunity to choose that. When you're in that mode where you're seeing the amount of instruments that are being played, you can also tap the notes at the bottom to play a chord from that particular group. Smart drums is something that's best saved after you've had an opportunity to do all of the other smart instruments. At this point, you may very well be 20 to 25 minutes into the class, maybe a tiny bit further. And the benefit to saving smart drums to the end is that every student will go absolutely nuts for smart drums. This tends to be the most popular one that we have. This gives you the ability to choose the type of drum instrument that you want. You can drag it right into your song, and you'll hear each instrument that you drag in a variety of settings between loud and quiet, simple and complex, that you can rearrange just by dragging on the screen. The most popular feature here is the rolling of the dice that allows you to randomly select an arrangement of drum instruments. And you can also choose from a pretty wide variety of sounds from the different chooser that is featured here as well. The last thing to know is that when you get started with trying to record the song and you want your students to have an opportunity, they are going to use the record button that's at the top. It's not a bad idea to try to start with drums so that they have a chance to lay down the beat of the actual song that they want to make first, and then have an opportunity to experiment with both loops and with the other instruments that they'll have a chance to create. The record button allows you to first count out the metronome and then record the parts of your songs the way that you like it to work. This is also a great opportunity as people are getting started with the concept of recording their own song to look at the options that exist for every single track that they would record based on the instrument that they're using. This would give them an opportunity to make that particular track louder or quieter compared to the other instruments. Would give them the ability to turn echo or reverb on or off. And this should be questions that you can ask your students. What do they think that track volume means? What do they think that echo or reverb means? Even if it's a simple answer, it's a great way to get them involved. Once they've recorded a single track, you can use the button that is in the top left-hand corner that looks like the different parts fitting together to switch between the track view and the instrument view. This gives you the ability to add extra instruments now, extra tracks to your song, or you can choose, and this is a great thing to show your students after they've recorded a little bit, the loops view, which is close to the top right. This should give them the ability to see all of the different things that they could add to their song, and also gives them a good chance to see how you would trim or copy or duplicate or remove a track from the song itself. Any track you can tap on once, and then choose from cut, copy, delete, loop, split, or rename. This also gives you the very easy ability to trim a track by grabbing at one corner and dragging towards the other. You could even take the instrument that you had made and create a loop of it so that it would continue to play over and over again. If there's any instrument that has been recorded that you would prefer not to have, you can tap right on the far left-hand side and choose Delete in order to remove that track entirely. Good luck!